Welcome to the Epg Padshala. I am Professor Ravinder Kaur, Department of Public Administration, Osmania University, Hyderabad. The course is on Public Administration and Introduction, and the module that we are going to discuss today is Coordination. This module is divided into 4 parts. The first part describes the meaning, significance and definitions of coordination. The second part differentiates between cooperation and coordination and defines types and principles of coordination. The third part incorporates the features, elements and techniques of coordination. The concluding part is on the approaches and hindrances to coordination. The objectives of this module describe the concept, principles, features, elements, techniques and hindrances to coordination. Coordination. The theorists of public administration have defined coordination. In fact, it is Luther Gulick who has given the significance of coordination in his acronym POSTCOB, where the alphabet CO represents coordination. He considers it as a very important executive function. Before Gulick, it was Henry Fayol also who has discussed about coordination. Coordination means removal of conflict and overlapping from administration. Coordination can also be considered as cooperation and teamwork amongst the employees. It deals with the task of blending for the successful achievement of an organization. To put it in simple words, we can say that coordination is the essence of management. Number of writers have defined coordination, and these definitions center around 2 important aspects. One is teamwork and second is the harmonious blend of activity. According to Newman, coordination is the orderly synchronization of efforts to provide the proper amount, timing, directing of execution, resulting in harmonious and unified action to a stated objective. According to Terry, coordination is the adjustment of parts to each other and of the movement and operation of parts in time so that each can make its maximum contribution to the product as a whole. Now, if we see coordination, according in the words of L.D. White, he says coordination is a process causing disjunct elements to a concentration on a complex of forces and influence which cause the mutually independent elements to act together. Charles Worth, he says that coordination is the integration of the several parts into an orderly whole. So, if you look at these definitions, we can say that coordination is nothing but it is bringing all the different units into one whole. It is also, we can see that bringing all the disjointed parts into an organic whole. Coordination is very essential in any organization. We find that if each individual is working separately, then what happens? There is no coordination. You have to see that all the people's work is directed towards a common goal or a common objective of the organization. Why is coordination essential? Coordination is essential if you have to synchronize the efforts of different individuals in the organization. So we say that synchronization of the efforts, that is the main objective of coordination. Otherwise, what happens? Everybody will be moving on in their own direction and there will not be any coordination. So friends, coordination is necessary because it is a natural tendency of the employees to work. See, when the employees are working in a group, there should be a proper understanding amongst themselves. All of them are working for a common purpose. Since they are working for a common purpose, there should be an understanding between them. There should be certain commonalities between them. They should know what each other is doing. Otherwise, it becomes meaningless. So, coordination is also important. So, in the first part, we said that coordination is necessary to remove the conflicts. If everybody is moving in a different direction, then conflicts are likely to arise. When people are working without consulting each other, there is a problem of overlapping. So, in order to avoid overlapping, coordination is necessary. There are three important reasons for the conflicts to arise in the organization. Now, first of all, we can say that conflicts may arise whenever there is overlapping of activities within the organization. This overlapping of activities arises because there is ignorance. Each person does not know what the other person is doing. So that way, coordination, it gives rise to conflict. Sometimes there is a tendency that when individuals work, they feel that their own work is important while neglecting the other person's work, or they may also be unmindful of the other person's work. They may be unmindful of the requirements of the other person. This may lead to conflict. In this case, coordination is important. The third important reason is when the conflict may be there whenever there is a greed for power and importance which the heads of the organizations, they may attach to some important aspects. Now, many times we find that take for example, the chief minister or the prime minister makes an important announcement. Now, they may make an important announcement without even consulting the other heads of the departments or the other ministers. Now, in such cases, what happens? That particular minister may face a problem because the announcement has come without his knowledge. So, conflict is there. See, had there been proper discussion, then we can say there was coordination between the minister and the chief minister, the minister and the prime minister, and there is no problem at all. So, conflicting ideas may arise if they do not discuss with each other. Coordination, now see, as students of administration, we may think that okay, coordination and cooperation are one and the same. But I already said that cooperation is different, coordination is different. See, coordination may help in bringing about proper cooperation. One aspect of coordination is cooperation. Now, to further understand this particular difference between coordination and cooperation, let me give you the story that has been put forward by Terry. Now, Terry gives the example of a boy who wants to catch a train early in the morning. Now, this boy knows that he should be on time, so he advances the watch by half an hour and he goes to bed. He wants to have complete sleep. That is why he goes to bed early and he advances his watch by half an hour. After some time, the boy falls asleep. His father comes to the room. Father is concerned about the son. Father says that, okay, son should not be late and miss the train. So he advances the watch by half an hour. Next, after the father goes to bed, mother, before she retires to bed, she does not say anything, but she comes and advances the watch by half an hour. Now, there is cooperation in the sense everyone wanted to see that the boy reaches the station on time, does not miss the train. But there is no coordination between the three people. Had there been coordination, the boy would not have lost 1.5 hour sleep. He would have just lost half an hour sleep instead of 1.5 hour and reached the station on time. I hope now you have understood the difference between coordination and cooperation. We can say that coordination is much more than cooperation. And so if we have to accomplish major tasks in the organization, coordination is a must. Coordination can be considered as the first principle of organization. It is essential. It is the first principle of organization, and without coordination, it becomes very difficult for the organizations to achieve the desired goals in the stipulated time. Coming to the next important aspect, it is the types of coordination. Briefly, we can say that there are 4 types of coordination. One is internal or functional coordination. Second is external or structural coordination. Third is vertical coordination. And fourth is horizontal coordination. Now let us discuss about these different types of coordination still more in detail. The first one, that is internal or functional coordination. It is nothing but the coordination between the activities of different individuals within the organization. Now, each individual is performing certain tasks in the organization. There have to be a proper coordination between these different individuals who are rendering services to the organization. Secondly, we say external coordination, or which is the structural coordination. It is coordinating the activities of the different units of the organization. If the first one is related to the individuals' tasks, the second one is related to the different units of the organization. So, bringing about coordination between various organizational units can be considered as the structural coordination. External coordination varies from organization to organization. Now we may say, example, say the coordination between the different units. For example, we have the headquarters, the defense headquarters and the field units. You may have coordination between the center and the states. The coordination between various departments, for example, you have the transport department, or you have the finance department, or you may have the purchase department or the sales department. Coordination varies. Now take for example, if it is a sales, the sales representatives are sent to different areas. If there is no coordination between them, all the 4 salesmen will land up in one particular area. Thereby, they are wasting their own time, and at the same time, the sales are very less. Similarly, when we talk about the finance, when the disbursal of finances have to be done, it should be seen that depending upon the nature of activities of various departments, the financial allocations should take place. So if there is a proper coordination between the departments which require the finances and the finance department, then there will the disbursal of finances can be done in a very easy manner. So coordination to this particular extent also is very important. It may vary from one department to another department, or from one organization to another organization. Coming to the types of coordination, you have vertical and horizontal coordination. The vertical coordination exists, that which you find in various departments. The departmental head is there. He is responsible for bringing about coordination between the various subordinates. Gallik has rightly mentioned in the executive functions that the chief executive is responsible. One of the most important functions of the chief executive is to bring about coordination between the different subordinates in the organization. So all the activities that are undertaken at various levels have to be brought under the control of the superior officer or the chief executive, and he is responsible for bringing about coordination. The horizontal coordination takes sideways. It exists between different units such as production, sales, finance, personnel, etc. There are certain principles of coordination in administration which are as follows. First of all, we say that early introduction is important. When you are thinking of coordination, it must start at the early stages of planning. Coordination is the first principle of organization, or the first principle of management. So in that event, when you start planning, at that stage itself, coordination should commence. So the early stage of planning, coordination should take place. Second important principle is that the individual interest versus organizational interest. Now the individual interest versus organizational interest, integration of these two is very, very important. What is the individual interest? Individual interest is completion of the task assigned to him. Individual interest may be to reach higher levels, that is to get promotions. What is the organizational interest? Organizational interest is to achieve organizational goals. So an integration of the individual's interests and the organizational goals can be brought about if there is effective coordination. So coordination is important if the objectives of the organization are to be realized properly. So all the departments, all the units in the organization They are interdependent. If the work has to go on smoothly, if every individual owns up the responsibility and performs his task, the work can be accomplished, the goals can be achieved. But each individual cannot do it independently. There is interdependence. One has to depend upon the other persons. So the principle of interdependence. The interdependence is again of three different types. One is pooled interdependence. Now what do we mean by pooled interdependence? Pooled interdependence here refers to the various units in the organization are interlinked with each other. Such interdependence may be responsible for the organization to achieve its goals. So, pooling together the efforts of different individuals is very important. Pooled interdependence is one important aspect. Second is sequential interdependence. See, every activity has to move on in a particular sequence. Now this sequential, for example, when one task is accomplished, the next task begins. Now we may say that when the work is to be done, we have to keep in mind, say, the starting stage, the initial stage. Then you plan, you move ahead. The second man's job may begin. After he has accomplished his task, the third person may may help him to accomplish his task. So work has to move on in a sequential manner. Sequential interdependence is there. There may be many interventions from different sources. You have to see to it that these interventions are meaningful. These interventions are leading to the achievement of the organizational goals. So in that, sequential interdependence is also one important principle in coordination. The next important principle in coordination is reciprocal interdependence. In the reciprocal interdependence, the output of one unit becomes the input for another unit, and that when the task is accomplished, this output becomes the input for the other unit. So in other words, we say that the reciprocal interdependence is such that they are dependent on each other for the completion of the tasks. So the relationship of one unit to the other unit is very, very important. One depends upon the other. The essential features of coordination. We have a few essential features of coordination. What are they? First of all, it is one of the principal functions of management. Fayol has attached importance to it. Gallick has attached importance to it. Gallick not only mentions about coordination general, but he also talks about coordination through committees. So it is one important principal function of management. Secondly, it is a perpetual process in the organizational management. It is a perpetual process. We cannot ignore it. It has to be there. It is a never-ending and a continuous process. We cannot say that if one day coordination has been brought about, next day there is no need of coordination. It is a continuous process. It is a never-ending process. Continuously, the management is responsible for bringing about coordination. Coordination may be there whenever we have to refer, whenever we are trying to integrate the efforts of different individuals in the organization. So it is a part of integration also. And lastly, coordination is a group effort. It is a group effort. No person can work individually or independently. They have to work in a group to achieve the organizational goals. That is why coordination is essential. It also refers to united action to achieve the objectives of the organization. As I already said, no individual is solely responsible for the performance of a particular task. It is a group effort, it is a collective effort, and the main aim is to achieve the goals of the organization. The mission is to see that the organization is a successful organization, and for this every individual's goal, every individual's efforts have to be directed towards achievement of these goals. There are different elements of cooperation. Let us discuss about the elements of coordination. First is cooperation, second is good human relations, third is understanding, and fourth is communication. A little details about this cooperation. We have already discussed about the story of the boy where there was no cooperation at all. But one of the most important element of coordination is cooperation. All the individuals working in the organization have to cooperate with each other. It is a cooperative endeavor to realize the organizational goals. Even if one person in the organization does not cooperate, his part of the work is left incomplete, and that is going to affect the functioning of the organization. So cooperation is very important. We can say that cooperation is the first step in bringing about coordination. Our cooperation is essential. Good human relations is the second important aspect. Until and unless you do not have good human relations, it becomes very difficult to achieve organizational goals. In our day-to-day lives also, we see that human relations have to be maintained. And if we do not maintain human relations, there will be some amount of pressure on the individuals. Now, people, when they go to the offices, and if they are not able to maintain contacts with their peer group or with their subordinates or with their superior officers, they feel completely neglected, out of place. They feel that they are being ignored. It leads to frustration, it leads to lack of interest amongst them, and then they do not do the work. So human relations is very, very important. Good human relations, this particular point has also been mentioned by Elton Mayo when he talks about the informal organizations. Chester Bernard also mentions about the informal organizations, and Mayo's initial experiments have shown that human relations help in improving the performance of the individuals in the organization. Understanding, the third important element of coordination. Understanding and mutual trust are very important. The superior officer, or we can say the chief executive or the manager, he should understand the potentialities of his subordinates. He should understand their capacities. He should know who is capable of doing which type of work and accordingly assign the tasks to them. When the subordinates understand the nature of their superior officer, they will also go all out in completing the task. So, understanding each other is very, very important. And last, communication is an important element of coordination. So, if communication is there, proper communication in the organization is there, naturally the work can be done faster. If the chief executive is sitting in his chambers and if he is status conscious, if he is not giving proper instructions to his subordinates, the work will not be done. And if the subordinates also do not communicate with each other, it becomes difficult. So, for coordination to be effective, we say that communication should also be there. Communication will help in bringing about better coordination in the organization. The next important component of this module is techniques of coordination. Mary Parker Follett, a renowned management thinker, has given several principles to achieve coordination. And these principles are, first of all, coordination can be achieved through direct contact. Direct contact is essential because the person who is responsible for bringing about coordination, he should have a contact with the subordinates. So, direct contact, coordination cannot be brought about through third person. Third party will say, who are you? Why should you? Who has assigned this task to you? So, if coordination has to be brought about, it is important that there should be a direct contact between the person who is assigning the tasks and also taking up the responsibility to see that the task is completed on time. Secondly, coordination can be achieved at the early stages of planning and policy making. So, in the initial stages itself, coordination should be achieved. Thirdly, she says, coordination is a continuous process and it should go on all the time. Coordination cannot be ordered, it should be brought about by the effort of the head of organization while performing his functions. If people are ordering, the person may not accept or obey the orders. Generally, when you command or demand, it becomes very difficult. The opposite person may question, or the opposite person may think that his ego is hurt. If work is to be done, proper communication should be there. Work is to be done, they have to see that they are more gentle, soft spoken, at the same time stern in getting the work done. Now here this sternness does not imply giving punishments. They should know that okay, the person is understanding, the person is assigning the task, the person is slightly flexible, and when he is assigning the work, he is not ordering, but he is just asking you to do the work. It is not requesting also, but it is asking you to do the work. Steps to achieve coordination. There are a number of steps by way of which we can achieve coordination. First of all, simplified organization. Now, simplified organization in the sense when coordination is to be brought about, you have to see that the tasks are distributed in such a manner that all the simple tasks may be assigned to those people who are at the lower levels and which do not require more of intelligence. But when it comes to more important tasks, you have to see the ability of the individuals also. The organizational structures, if they are simplified, then the works, coordination can be brought about. There must be a harmonious relationship between the programs and the policies. Harmonious programs and policies will definitely create interest amongst the subordinates to implement it. A perfectly designed communication system will help in bringing about coordination. So that becomes the third step. First step is simplified organizational structure. Second is harmonious programs and policies. Third is perfectly designed communication system. And fourthly, we say voluntary cooperation. It cannot be imposed. Voluntarism is very important. And another important step in coordination is supervision. Coordination through supervision. The supervisors play a very important role in bringing about coordination. It is not that only the top level managers are responsible for bringing about coordination, but the supervisors also play a very important role in bringing about coordination. So that is why coordination through supervision is another important step in achieving coordination. The next step is coordination through planning. And plan processes are very important. Before you start doing the work, you have to plan, and at every stage you require planning. Once for all, if we have made a plan, we cannot say that that is the end of it, but you have to review it and then you have to incorporate necessary changes. So coordination through planning is important. There may be a number of organizational techniques which may be responsible for bringing about coordination. And if better coordination is to be brought about, you have to see that the procedures are standardized. You are using standardized procedures and techniques for bringing about good coordination. In most of the organizations, we can say that the most important task would be centralized housekeeping. Now, centralized housekeeping, for example, whenever you require certain inputs, you have the centralized housekeeping department which will try to serve the various departments whenever anything is required for the completion of the task. So these are some of the steps in achieving coordination. We come to the other important aspect of coordination, that is the approaches to coordination. Now there are two different approaches of coordination. One is the systems approach and second is the situational approach. The systems approach to coordination considers the organization as a system composed of a set of interrelated and thus mutually dependent subsystems. Ludwig von Bertalanffy evolved the concept of system approach. Systems approach provides a framework for visualizing internal and external environmental factors as an integrated whole. Now, this system is based on the ground that every organization comprises of people, the technical system, and the environment. So, we can also say that in every organization you have men, material, money. Now, you have to bring about the coordination between these three different aspects. An equilibrium among the social system, the technical system, and the environment is essential to make the organization more effective and efficient. Now, the systems approach, we say that the people play a very important role, and the technical aspects, the technology plays an important role, and all these three have, the work of all the three have to be coordinated to achieve the set goals. The situational approach to organization is the second approach to organization. Now, situational approach assumes that situation differs and demands different actions. So, every time the situation will not be the same, it will be changing. There cannot be one approach to all situations. Now, for example, at one particular time we may have to function in a particular manner, and suppose if there is a crisis, we may have to change our strategy. If there is a disaster, we may have to change our strategy. Similarly, when it comes to the relationships in the organization, now many factors may contribute towards the strengthening of these relationships or weakening of these relationships. For example, you may have social factors, you may have economic factors, you may have political factors, or you may have legal factors. All these may influence the functioning of the organization. They may also try to influence the functioning of the organization, and we can also say that these factors may go a long way in achieving the goals of the organization. So, the organizational relationships vary, the maximum output varies, and from time to time also there may be variations. Situations are not same all the time. We have seen at one point of time, like you have one political party favoring one set of people or favoring one ideology. At another point of time, you have another party favoring another ideology, and at different points of time you may be having the adjustments that have to be made, and coordination has to be brought about in different circumstances, in different situations, and in organizations also. Organizations may be influenced by these political, economic, or legal aspects. So, the organizational effectiveness depends upon this situational approach to organization. Coming to the last aspect of coordination, it is the hindrances to coordination. There are a number of hindrances to coordination. According to Luther Gulick, some of the hindrances to coordination are uncertainty of the future. We all cannot predict what the future is going to be or how the future is going to be. So, that may be one hindrance to coordination. today if X is a very good leader, is serving the organization, has brought about better coordination, has been able to achieve all the goals in the organization, and X is transferred, another person comes, Y is not having very cordial relations with his subordinates, there is less of mutual trust, then naturally the effectiveness of the organization is going to suffer. So we are uncertain whether the organization is going to have the same type of people over a period of time, or there may be changes, there may be transfers, or people may quit the organization to join another organization. Secondly, the lack of knowledge, wisdom and character amongst the leaders, and their confused and conflicting ideas and objectives. If the leaders do not have knowledge, if they are not far-sighted, if the character also plays a very important role. So if they are not up to the expectations of the subordinates, coordination may not be easy. And if they are having conflicting ideas and objectives also, that may be another hindrance to coordination. See, we have people who do not stick to their word. We have people who may behave in one particular manner at a particular time, and they may change at a different time. So, and sometimes they may be having one idea or opinion, and at the time immediately they change their views or they change their opinions. So such conflicting ideas and opinions will have an impact, or it will be an hindrance to coordination. Third important aspect that Gallik points out is there are number of variables which may be responsible or which are involved in the incompleteness of human knowledge and life. There are a number of variables. See, no human being is a perfect human being, and no individual can claim that he has complete knowledge. Let me tell you, knowledge is an ocean. The deeper we go, the more information we get. So that is why if your knowledge is incomplete, and this incomplete knowledge will be an hindrance to coordination. Another hindrance to coordination is the lack of administrative skills and techniques. If the person does not have administrative skills, if he does not have good leadership qualities, if he does not know his job, or if he does not know what he has to get it done from someone, then it becomes difficult for him to perform his task. It becomes difficult for him to bring about coordination. So the person at the helm of affairs, or the person who is responsible for bringing about coordination, he should know his job completely. He should have the necessary administrative skills. He should know what are the various techniques that may be adopted for bringing about coordination, because overseeing the work of the subordinates is also very, very important. And the last hindrance to coordination is the lack of orderly methods of developing, considering, perfecting and adopting new ideas and programs. So if the person is not innovative, if the person does not evolve new methods of developing or considering of how to do the work, then it becomes an important hindrance to coordination. So we in our discussion on the module on coordination have discussed the various aspects of coordination, right from the meaning, definition, elements, principles and hindrances to coordination. I hope you have understood the module on coordination, and for further references you can refer to the e-Pathshala text, or you can also refer to the basic books of public administration, which will discuss about the principles of administration. Thank you.